So as if Fruits Basket wasn't enough, we now have 2 Year Eternity on Mondays. So between those two, it's going to be horribly emotional Mondays from now on. But with that said, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Fruits Basket, the final discussion videos. Today we're here to talk about episode 3. I hope it snows soon. But before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AnyTube know that you're here. Let's go ahead and set a like goal because I want to start doing that. So I'm gonna say 100 likes or I will not cover the next episode of Fruits Basket. 100 likes on this video or I'm not gonna do it. And I say 100 and I know that you guys typically end up getting like 200 before the day's over, but still 100 or I'm not gonna do it. 100 likes or I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Okay, let's talk about this week's episode. There's a lot that goes into this week's episode, and it's mostly centered around Yuki. I don't know who I'm gonna make I had this inner debate with myself because it's like, okay, who do I make the thumbnail? Because Machi gets a lot to do this week, but also Minagawa gets a lot to do, which was surprising. So it's like, which do I put in the thumbnail? And then I realized that they both involve Yuki. So I should probably talk about Yuki. Well, maybe not Yuki specifically, but Yuki should be the thumbnail. And my god, Nobunaga Shimazaki, he's always been good as Yuki, but lately, has Shimazaki, is it just me? Or has, Shimazaki's performance as Yuki been, with, a zen-like grace? You know, there's something about Yuki lately that comes out in the performance where he's just, zen-like. He moves like Bruce Lee would move in a fight scene, you know? When you put water into a teacup, it becomes the teacup. When you put water into a pot, it becomes the pot. It's like Yuki just, moves gracefully through everything. It's like he, we know that he's reached this level, but, it's cool to hear it in the performance of Nobunaga Shimazaki, this zen-like grace, and the fact that he's able to talk and then break the chalk all at once, it's marvelous. And even he's still able to be funny, which I really appreciate. We see it when he's talking with Kakeru earlier in the episode, Thief, as I gave him the nickname. I forgot about that. Because I was watching the episode and I forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, I really like the student council. I forgot we gave them nicknames. Because I kind of, I see Machi and I'm like, Machi Mouse, right? It's just subconscious now. And I saw Now, and they refer to him as Now. But I was like, Short Round. I think I called him Short Stack before. And I'm like, no, Short Stack has a different meaning. I should probably call him Short Round. So I was like, Short Round. And then Foru and Thief. I forgot that they all had nicknames that we gave them, because I threw them out there, and you guys were like that, and that. They all work. So I was like, okay. And remember Machi Mouse in particular. People were like, that's a really good one. You'll find out why. And yeah, it's super was. I said in a previous video that I really love the dynamic between Machi and Yuki, and I think it's because they're both broken people. And there's a lot of symbolism this week, a lot of symbolism. And you guys know me, I like my symbolism. So the fact that we see Yuki, again, in a initially comedic scene where they go to... I actually forgot about this until I started recording. They go to Machi's room, and Kakeru's such a shit. He's like, Yuki, this is for you. And he just drops one of Machi's bras in Yuki's hand. And I was like, hey, yo, what's the matter with you? And I like that both of them just kick his ass for it. You see a bump on his head from Yuki and a slap across the face from Machi. And he's like, I'll be back. Don't do anything pervy, Yuki. And I'm like, will you? My man has no chill, but that's why we like Kakeru, you know? And I know he's one of John's favorites after the discussion video. Did you see the Fruits Basket discussion video that I did with Thought Bubble and Flora Red? You should watch it. Hopefully we'll do another one soon, and this time with Sun. You know, I want to throw Sun in the mix too, just because. But regardless, yeah, a lot of comedic stuff. And we do see Kakeru and Yuki kind of going back and forth. I will say, when they're walking, this is the first time I've had anything remotely negative to say about Fruits Basket in a while. But when they're walking to Machi's place, in like pretty much the early parts of the episode, did the art look weird? Like, I was watching it, I'm like, they look weird. Like, they look like XX Holic characters a little bit. Like, the art, there's an art shift, and it felt like really off from Yu Shindo's character design. So I don't know if maybe Shindo was like not paying attention, because usually when it comes to anime, character designers usually act as chief animation directors, because the chief animation director's job is just to make sure that the different animators are all drawing in a similar style to what the show's style is. So, and like, they're not always the chief animation director, but like usually you put the character designer as chief animation director because they made the designs, so they know what the designs are supposed to look like. And in obviously Yu Shindo's case, he's adapting these designs from Natsuki Takia, and they don't look like Takia style at all. They look more like Clamp. Like, they looked like Clamp drawings for a second. I'm like, did Shindo just like get really bummed out about Tokyo Babylon getting canceled? What happened there? It was really, and it wasn't like good XX Holic. I'm talking about like some of like the worser episodes of XX Holic. It doesn't stay like that. Like, the episode does go back to looking like Fruits Basket relatively quickly, pretty much from the instant they get into Machi's room. And I'm probably showing the screenshot where Machi loses her mind, but I don't know. I thought it looked weird. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Did anybody else get that? I don't like knocking on Fruba. You know that I love Fruba. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time. This whole friggin' series is wonderful. But yeah, I was like, you guys know me. I'll call it when I see it. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And then it immediately fixes itself. That's somehow weirder. I don't know what happened there. But enough of the friggin' design. I mean, you guys know me. I like talking about the art. But like, no. Let's move on to other stuff. The symbolism of Yuki fixing the broken window in Machi's room, like as though he's fixing her broken heart, in the same way that Toru actually fixed Yuki's heart. Yuki is now turning around to somebody else who he sees is hurt in the same way that he was, and he's being Toru for them. And I love that. Like, I love that for many reasons, because one, the Yuki-Toru relationship is one of my favorites in the show, not because I ship it, because it's like a bro TP to me, the Yuki-Toru ship, because like those two, like it is love, right? But it's a platonic, like, I love you as much as another person can care about and cherish another human being without it being romantic. And with Yuki and Machi, it's the same thing, except like, they're gonna kiss. They're gonna kiss and hold hands and go for ice cream. Why is it that's all I want for characters? I don't know what maybe it's the ace part of me. The more I think about it, it's 110% the ace part of me. But I'm like, I just want to see them be happy and go out for ice cream. I don't know why it's always ice cream. It's like, I just want to see ice cream. Or like, I just want to see them have just walk down like the strip. Like, just walk down like a happy area. You know, like go by the beach or like go through the mall or something. I just want them to have a good time, right? And that's what I want for Yuki and Machi, because like Machi as a character has been through a hell of a lot, like a lot. We find out that Machi's whole thing at the beginning of the episode, when she says like she doesn't want it to snow because it's too serene and perfect and it makes her angry, and so she breaks or she like throws a box of chalks all over the place and they shatter. And then we find out through these two absolute witches of characters. I'm not going to say the actual word that they are, because I don't know how far into the episode or into the video I am. YouTube's swear bots might be watching. But you know what those two girls are who were talking trash about Machi. Like, knowing Machi is part of the student council, so like obviously they're friends with her. And then they're trying to be like, oh, Yuki. Like, if I was Yuki, I'd be like, you two are dumb. Like, get out of my face. But Yuki is a much more pleasant person than I am. But they talk about Machi's relationship with her brother, saying that, oh, did you hear the rumor that she tried to kill her brother? Not true, by the way. Machi, as it turns out, was simply trying to like make her brother warmer because he was sleeping without a blanket, so she was trying to put the blanket on him. And like her mom freaks out and says like, oh, like you tried to, like you were trying to kill him and blah 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 blah. And then the dad's like, yeah, you're gonna have to leave. But like they just made up their mind about her, which is so slimy. Like Machi's, why are all the parents in Fruits Basket? It's like stars align, where it's like, why are all these parents terrible? Well, not all of them. Like Hiro's mom is pretty rad. And Toru's, like, Kyoko's great, right? Like, there's good parents, but it's like, oh my god, why is there so many bad ones? I feel really bad for Machi Mouse. And it's interesting how, like, she feels this sort of, like, pressure to be perfect, and then only to have that be told to her later that, like, that didn't matter. Like, her mom is like, well, yeah, like, why are you talking to me like it's my fault? Well, maybe it is my fault. Maybe I didn't raise you right. And then Machi's like, well, what does that mean? Like, that's even worse, because if you didn't raise me right, what does that make me? Right? And she gets really upset by it. That's when she breaks the window. But Yuki says, like, I'm proud of the person you are, because you became the perfect Machi. You know, like, you are exactly who you're supposed to be, and I'm very proud of you. And they have this sweet friggin' moment where he just puts his hand on her head and just says, I'm really proud of you. And she had never heard anybody really take pride in her before. So they look at each other, and I'm like, what is this? And then they pan out, and they're very close, and I'm like, yo, their faces are hella close. What is this? And Kakeru's leaning over because he's like, oh shit. And I'm like, Kakeru, my boy, it's about to happen. Oh my god, don't say anything. Right? Because I'm like, oh, it's about to, they're gonna guess. Right? And then Kakeru's freaking phone goes off, and I'm like, damn it! Like, I needed this. I needed the ship to be real. But what I love is that the ship is real, even though there's no kiss. And I'll tell you why. Because he breaks the friggin' chalk. Because when he's talking, and I mentioned this earlier with Shimazaki, as Shimazaki's talking, and it's this graceful sort of like where he's going through the agenda for the day and with the other clubs, and he's talking about what's going to happen for the graduation ceremony and all this stuff. And chalk is placed in front of Machi, and it's perfect chalk, right? It's all perfectly aligned, and obviously she has this sort of phobia with things being neatly aligned, like perfect, right? Like that sort of makes her uncomfortable. And just like how Yuki said, when it snows again, I'm going to walk through the snow with you. Like, let's walk through the snow together. Basically saying, like, if you don't like perfect things, I will make things imperfect with you until you feel comfortable around it. Like, the idea that he's going to be there with her to deal with, like, not deal with, but to understand and confront her trauma so that they can maybe one day conquer it. And that is very friggin' cool. Like, the fact that he's talking, she gets freaked out, he can, without even looking at her, he knows what's wrong, just leans over and cracks the chalk without skipping a beat. Yuki, my boy Yuki Soma, like, my top tier absolute legend Yuki. Like, Yuki's the man. I friggin' love Yuki, and I love the way he handled the Minagawa thing too. Let's talk about Minagawa. When I tell you that I got weirdly emotional about Minagawa leaving, I was shocked. Like, I was genuinely surprised that I cared that much about Minagawa, of all people. Like, the former president, class president Take, I believe that's his name, Take? Like, I was bummed that he's leaving, because he's Kazuma from Konosuba, so I'm gonna miss him on the show, because he's funny. But Minagawa leaving, that felt like a big moment, right? Because it's like, damn, these characters are actually aging, right? And the idea of, I think it was just the idea that, like, we spend time with Minagawa this week as she comes to grips with the idea that someday she might walk past the school, but it won't be the school anymore, right? Like, this idea that she spent so much time here, right? This home away from home, and come tomorrow, it's not her school anymore. It's not going to be the same place that it once was. And that feeling of, like, graduating or leaving something and knowing that, like, you're leaving behind a home away from home and that you're not going to be welcome in the same way you once were, that hits hard. And if I might get a wee bit personal, I mean, that's most of these videos is just me getting weirdly personal over anime stuff. But the last time that happened for me was just before this whole world situation thing started. I was working at a retail store, and I worked with a really good group of people, like a really good group of people who were very supportive of me doing the YouTube thing. And it got to the point where I started working very little hours, but I wanted to stay there for two reasons. One, I wanted the pocket change. And I think another part was just I was scared to leave. Now, the world event ended up in such a state where they ended up letting me go because I couldn't balance like working a full shift and this was my main source of income. I made more from this than I did there. So I wanted to focus on this. And so unfortunately they had to let me go. And I never got what Minagawa got. I never got to have that moment where like I leave the store and look back at this place that I've been for years, right? And these people who I've known for years, and get that moment of like, that's it, you know? And I really like that they spent time with Minagawa there. Weirdly getting emotional. And yeah, even leaving high school, I remember I was in theater. I was a theater kid, and I remember leaving the stage for the last time, and I was okay for a long while, and then as we were leaving, I was the last one, and I just stopped in the middle of the stage like a dramatic bitch. And I looked up at the stage lights, and I knew it was the last time I was going to see them. And I looked at like the stage lights and then the chairs, and I knew like I'd never perform on that stage again. And even if I was in the crowd, it wouldn't feel like this was my stage anymore. And it wouldn't feel like this was my school anymore. And I get it. Like, I really understand where Minagawa's coming from, both when I was leaving high school and even just as an adult, leaving a store that I spent so much time in, and the people that I really grew to know. If I walked into that store again, it wouldn't be my store anymore, you know? Like, I get it. And I just think they really nailed it with Minagawa. Especially her, like, confessing to Yuki how much she loved him, but never expected him to reciprocate that love. Minagawa as a character, like, I remember like thinking like, oh, the Yuki fan club's the worst. And it's just a testament to Take Sensei that she's taken these characters and who could have, like, this character who could have easily been like a gag character, like this jokey nonsense character, and made Minagawa's exit really, really emotional. Like her saying, I loved you and thank you for making me happy. Like, that was like heartbreaking. And Yuki saying like, I don't deserve those, but those emotions, but thank you. You know, like, and like he just had this great moment with her. And the fact that Short Round had a crush on her the whole time, I thought he had a crush on Machi for some reason. But it turned out to be Minagawa. Maybe they established that. I did not recall that at all. And like, so for me, I totally forgot. If that was a thing, I'm sorry. I forgot completely. So that was like a huge surprise to me. And it explains the whole rival thing. Like Haku even says like, oh, that's why you and Yuki are rivals. Oh, Short Round, you got a crush on somebody. I wonder who it is. And the fact that he says that like saying goodbye just means means eventually you'll get to a nice to meet you. And she's like, now I hope you have a good, like just like thank you, and just like it just says like thank you for being kind, right? Like just like they just have a moment. God, yeah, I'm gonna miss Minagawa. I never thought I'd say that. I'm really gonna miss that character. I'm glad the Yuki fan club goes out on a high and like spiritually passes the torch to Machi, who will continue the legacy of the Yuki fan club by hopefully one day dating Yuki. yeah, so sorry to get weirdly emotional, but yeah, the Minagawa stuff, like, the Machi stuff alone made me emotional, but the Minagawa stuff, like, pushed me over the edge. I was already emotional after the Machi stuff. The Minagawa thing just really pushed me over the edge. I was hella emotional. However, there is some other stuff that happened that I have concerns about. And, let's talk about the positive things. There's some stuff, some Soma stuff, so you know it's about to be somewhat happy, but also very dramatic. Because that's the Somas in a nutshell. Hiro is a big bro to little Hinata. Yay! Her name's Hinata. That's adorable. Because all I'm thinking of is Hinata from Naruto. And I'm like, Hiro, please don't become Neji. Please, Hiro, don't become Neji. That made me sad. Oh, Neji. But, yeah. Hinata isn't here now, and I'm like, oh, cool, she's adorable. And there's this scene where she says, like, do you want to hold her? And Hiro's like, what? I can't. Right? And she's like, no, I'll hold you both. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Like, that, I was like, that's, aw, that made me very emotional. And it's funny because, like, Allie, like, again, speaking of the Furuba discussion video we did, with Thought Bubble and Floor Red, Allie, Hiro's one of her favorites. So, she must have been happy to see that. And as Allie pointed out in that, we do see Hinata in the ED, so, like, the baby's not a surprise. Like, we knew we'd probably see it this season. But it was nice. I like that we actually got to see Hiro with his baby sister and, like, the mom being like, I got you both if you want to, like, be near her. And he's like, oh, yay. Like, I was like, this is wholesome. I like this. This is cute. However, it doesn't stay cute because Somas be as Somas do. And Kagura says that Rin actually managed to graduate while being in the hospital, quote unquote, but then asks, like, is she really in the hospital? Because I can't seem to find her anywhere. Like, she's not answering calls. I don't know where she is. I asked people at school. They don't know where she is. And Shigure, I'm gonna be real with you. I haven't forgiven. I'm still really mad. Shigure is acting hella sus, saying, like, let me guess, your mom probably told you not to pry? Maybe you shouldn't do that, right? And Kagura's like, yeah, I guess. But I'm just worried that this time she won't come back. And I was like, what does that mean? And as she's saying that, we see somebody at a lonely-looking building holding scissors in their hand, and there's, like, hair on their sleeve. So, my initial thought was the fact that Kagura says, I'm worried she won't come back. I thought that was Akito, because it looked like Akito for a second. And that Akito cut Rin's hair and then left her in the one house where they'll eventually keep Kyo. I don't know if I necessarily believe that anymore. Because after I was writing it down, I was like, wait, what if it's not Akito throwing Rin in there? Because we still don't know what Rin and Ren, that's hard to say. Rin and Ren, Jesus, what Rin and Ren's plan is for Akito. So maybe they haven't even started it yet. And maybe that's not Akito, maybe that's Rin. And she just cut her hair. That could be a thing. You never know. I am concerned because I don't know if that's... Because I feel like the house that they're eventually going to lock the cat spirit in, right? We've seen it before. Isn't it, like, more out of the way? I mean, that house is really out of the way. It looks like a house/shed, right? A really fancy shed. But it's, yeah, this really tiny looking house. It could be the same one. I don't remember enough, unfortunately. It's been super long since we last saw that eventual prison. So it could be Akito locking Rin up there. It could be Rin cutting her own hair and posing as Akito. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm all emotional, and then they leave it on that. So thank you, Furuba, as if I didn't have enough on my brain. Now I got that to worry about. Thanks. Appreciate it, Takuya Sensei. I actually do. I'm just being facetious. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. So, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, boop the up, snoot, share if you care, all the fun stuff. Hey, you should join our Patreon. It's like $1. You get your name scrolling past the screen. It's super cool. By the way, thank you to the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people, man. Look at these beautiful names. Don't you want to join these people? It's $1. $1. Helps out your boy. It's linked in the description. Also, like goal. Don't forget like goal. 100 likes, or I'm never talking about fruit spastic again. 100 likes. I don't know, man. I'm just trying them out. I gotta get engagement up on these videos, okay? Never talk about Fruba again unless we get 100 likes. Well, I mean it. I'm super serial. 100 likes. Okay. But yeah, that's... Thank you to the good folks at T-Squad. What is this ending? I've never been so haphazard at an end. I'm a little emotional, and I'm recording this late, so I'm kind of tired. Anyway, bye!